2, we are live. Up in the corner, and we'll just do our usual one. We'll wait for an eyeball, and then we know that it's all working, it's all connected. So good morning everybody. There we go, our first eyeball. Good morning everybody, how are you today after that long weekend? Goodness gracious me, 5 days off we had. Whew. So here we are, it is Tuesday, it's not Wednesday. Firstly, I would just like to apologise. We have had to move the day of the infant lesson for this week due to a timetabling thing with school. If we are not in school next week, it will be like this next week also. But fingers crossed we'll be back in school next week and the lesson won't be happening anyway. And good morning, Baxter. No flowers today. No, Grandad. No, there's no flowers today. Now we have a bunch of flowers in the background, but we don't have any today. Even though it's Valentine's Day on Sunday. Anyway, hiya Toby, hiya, nice to see you. So as I'm saying, we've had to swap the day. It's purely down to a timetabling issue. So apologies, I know this isn't suiting everybody. Some people have got live meets on a Tuesday morning, so sorry that we've double crossed ourselves. However, I will post this straight after onto the Facebook page and it will go onto YouTube as well. So here we go. So Harris is here today. And as a special treat, Harris, he has got something very special to work on today. This is going to be a wee bit of an experiment because I'm going to do my picture on paper. However, I found this in the cupboard. Harris is going to have a wee experiment with a square canvas. Now, we're being very brief. We haven't done this before, Harris, have we? No, he's shaking his head. No. So if it doesn't work, you're not going to throw me diva strop, are you? No, because it's just an experiment, it's just a bit of fun. If it doesn't work, when the camera stops rolling, we'll go and get you a bit of card and you can do your own version. Okay? Don't want any temper tantrums on the screen. It's not cool. Right. Resources today. You don't need a lot for this. This is a brilliant lesson. You only need a piece of paper. Preferably, it's going to get wet, so preferably a nice bit of paper, not like a bit of photocopier paper. That might go a bit mushy when it gets wet. So a nice bit of cartridge paper. It can be colour if you want, by the way. It doesn't have to be white, but I'm going white. You also will need, Harris is wobbling a bowl about, that's to draw a circle for the face. You don't have to have that, you could just freehand draw it, but I just thought, for ease, we'll get a bowl out of the cupboard. You also need some water. Now, I've got a spray bottle here, just to make it a wee bit easier. If I was in the classroom, let's be realistic, I am not going to have 20 odd spray bottles. So really, you could brush the water on as well. So don't worry if you don't have a spray bottle, but it does make life a lot easier. You also will need, and it needs to be a permanent pen, it doesn't need to be a branded Sharpie, but you need to have a pen that's a Sharpie. It needs to be permanent, because when you spray the water on, you want the lines to remain, you don't want them to blur away. So a water-based pen won't work, so it needs to be a Sharpie. If you don't have a Sharpie, you could use an oil pastel, you could use a coloured pencil, you could use a wax crayon, you could use any of those, anything that doesn't dissolve in the water. So we've got some Sharpies and we're really lucky, I think I said this last week, because we got a big, huge box from Santa at Christmas time. So we've got thick, we've got medium, we've got thin, we've gone for black, by the way. You could use any colour you want for this. Now, the third thing, is that third? 1, 2, 3, fourth thing that you need are some pieces of tissue paper. Now, please don't go out and buy any. Read your, if you have one, gift wrap drawer, because that's what I did last night. We've got loads of tissue paper out, bags and tissue paper that we wrap up presents with. We had a few bits of arts and crafts, but we had those. That's for the finished touches. And to save time, cut them up into small squares now, just to save time. If you haven't done that, go away and do that now and come back later. It just saves a lot of hassle. So we've got lots of different colours. Now, Harris is floating some oil pastels in the background. They're just for the finishing touch. I did put that in the ingredient list because you don't need them, but it does give a nice effect. Or chalks also work, or pencils, or anything like that. Now, on to what we're doing today. I have posted a few links on the page, a YouTube video, and also some photographs, some pictures of this man's work. This is one of Mrs. C's favourite artists. He is called Paul Klee. Okay, really, really nice pictures, primarily made up of shapes. Okay, they're quite abstract, they're quite modern. And also, if you look really, really closely, his colours are often quite fuzzy, quite blurry, they're not very sharp. Okay, if I told you that he was really inspired by hot countries, that might link the two together. So he loved countries like Egypt with the pyramids and all the big buildings. So that's something about Paul Klee. He liked to travel. Okay, so this is the sort of thing we're going to aim towards today. So what we're going to do first of all, before we start thinking about colour, is we are just going to draw a face. But I would like you to simplify your face today. So normally when I ask you to draw a face, I ask you to draw eyelashes, I ask you to draw any freckles that you might have, I ask you to draw all the parts of your eyes. Today, I'm going backwards. I want you to try and simplify down your image a little bit. So I want you to think about a simple shape for the face, and I want you to think about some simple shapes for the eyes, for the nose, and if you want to put a mouth in, you could put in a line for the mouth. Okay? I don't want you to go over the top. So, move along slightly just now so you've got some space. So the first thing I want you to do, and Hannes, I want you to choose your sharpie that you want, is I want you to draw your circle or oval or whatever shape you want for your face. Hannes, could you please pass me over that bowl? And you can use it after me if you would like. So, pretty much in the middle of the page, maybe a little bit further up from the page, all I want you to do is draw a circle. And as I said, you can draw a round one, or if you don't have a bowl ready, just freehand draw one. Just be careful, the permanent pen might come off on the edge of the bowl, so don't use one of your grown-ups perfect, antique bowls for this. Right, you're going to say you want a face to be. Now, we've never done it on canvas before, so this is going to be a total experiment. Harris might need a little bit of help with me holding it for him. I'll hold it while you draw. Get off that noise. Okay, zip them up. And don't worry if your circle isn't perfect. These lines all look quite interesting once you've got your overall effect. Harris has done his on the canvas as well. Okay, so next up, this is where I want to get a little bit creative. So, draw a neck, so maybe just 2 lines for your neck, and it could come right down to the bottom, or you could stop it. You might want to put a collar for your top on. You might want to have some shoulders that come off the edge. Got Harris with me again, which is always brilliant because he helps me know real time. So I look at him and I know, well, that's probably where you are at home. So I'll slow down a little bit. Now, don't worry about putting in all the little squares, it looks like mosaics, little square tiles. Don't worry about doing that. You're going to get that with the tissue effect. All I want you to do are put the basic shapes in just now. Now, this is the bit I like to do, are the eyes. So what you're going to do for one eye is you're just going to imagine almost like a fish body shape. Okay, so it curves at the top and then it curves at the bottom. So I'll show you. It curves at the top and then it curves at the bottom. A little bit like that. Okay, and then you might want to just put an eyeball in the middle of that. That's lovely. Really nice. And then what you're going to do is really, really, really close to it. You're just going to draw a line for your nose that comes down. Harris, right next to your nose, I just want you to draw right next to your nose, right next to your eyes, I want you to draw your line for your nose. Oh, you're drawing your second eye. Okay. So next to that line, we're now just going to put in our second eye. And do the same thing. So we do a tear shape with a circle in the middle. Okay, happy? Connect it to your nose. I just want you to put a line in for an eyebrow. Exactly about this picture here. So down our nose, it comes up and it tails round. And our eyes aren't perfectly in a line, but that's okay, it's just quite quirky. Okay, well done, that looks really nice. Yeah, you happy with that? Okay, right, things you can do. You could put a mouth in if you want. You could put, and this one example that I've got from the internet, it's got a triangle that's above his eye. You could also go with that. If you want to, you could add some eyes, ears, just even some lines for ears. If you want to add here, you can. Just go for it. Have some fun with that and see what you come up with. But don't worry, because this will not disappear when you put the colour on top. This will show up really, really, really well. And if you want to, before you get going with this, because if you look really, really, really closely, you'll be able to see this movie there. That's his signature there. So what you might want to do, before you add the colour, is put your signature, we'll be back to front page to go, but put your signature on your shoulder. Okay, so Harris, along where the shoulders, I want to write Harris. Okay, right, that's me done with the pen. Move those all out of the way. The next step. Now I have Protect Table. You'll notice I've got a big bit of freeze paper. This is my new thing. I start putting a new bit of freeze paper down instead of my waterproof mat, because Missy comes through as soon as we're finished and she wants to use the leftovers to make pictures. So I just right, so this is Harris's one on his canvas, just so you can see a primary 2-year-old's work. He's done a great job, and as I said earlier, this is the canvas, so don't really know what's going to work. Now, like some of these lessons, this will need to dry before I can really, really, really show you it at the end. So I've actually done one this morning that I've left dry. So you at home will want to leave this for a second, maybe 10 minutes or so before you take the tissue paper off, but I'll be able to do it live time. Right, so what you're going to do now is you're going to get your spray bottle. Decide where you want to start off with this, and just give your paper a bit of a scoosh. Okay, just do a wee bit at a time. So Harry's almost excited about that. Just see his face. I'm going to get the tissue paper ready. Right, so you're going to give that spray. Now the permanent pen, because it's permanent, it won't wash away. Yeah. Is it not working? Press the handle in as far as it goes. That's it, yeah. There you go, you got a hand of it now. Now I'm going to take my tissue paper squares, and what I'm going to start to do is I'm going to start to lay them on top of.
That's fun.
That was fun. Did you like that? You're going to get to do it again. In fact, you need a lot more watching than that. So we're going to start to lay our tissue paper squares on top of the face. Now, we're going to peel these off again because they're not stuck forever, they're only stuck down with water. If you like this effect, get some glue on it, get some PVA glue, and then the tissue paper will never come off again. But we want our tissue paper to come off. So now what I'm going to start doing is I'm going to start laying these tissue paper squares on the water. If it gets too dry, give it another scoosh. Okay. I'm just going to lay them down. And what you want to do with this is you actually want to overlap them, because that will create new colours. We didn't have a lot of paper, we've only got the primary colours really. Oh, we've managed to get this to turn over. Oops, it's very fiddly. Let's play that down again. And what starts to happen with the tissue is the colour comes out of the tissue with the water and it goes into the paper. Okay, just going to lay that down. Now, what you want to try and do and overlap the pieces of paper. Harris, I think that's a bit dry. Can I give you another squish? There you go. Better. So what starts to happen is the paper, the colour comes out of the paper and it goes into, if I pick this up it's going to start to dribble, but it starts to go into whatever it is that's behind. We didn't have loads of this tissue paper. Some tissue paper is what's called bleed resist, which means that the colour won't come out of the tissue paper. If you've got that, you'll find that the colour's not splurging out. Don't worry about it. It still will come out. It'll just be really, really, really faint. It won't give you strong results. You get two sort of tentacles in it. You get two different types of tissue paper. You get some that runs and some that doesn't. I get a little bit fussy when I'm ordering tissue paper, and I think the ladies in the office think I'm a bit, well, even more crazy than they think I am already. Because if I get the wrong stuff, I'm like, no, that doesn't work. That's hell. But this is actually not great stuff for if you're gluing, because then the colour comes out of it and then goes into something else. So this is a good technique if you want this technique, but sometimes you might not actually want this technique, and then you've got a bit of a problem. Okay, so let's get a bit dry because I'm talking too much. I'm going to start sticking it down really fast. I took a big bit of paper today because I think working bigger for showing you at home is easier, but it does of course take much longer. Don't be scared to use white tissue paper. People think that doesn't work very well, but actually it really looks nice because it mixes with whatever colour's next to it to give you a lighter tone. Right, you definitely need more water on top of that, because if it's too dry, it won't sink in. Okay, right, I think you're done. Right, so believe it or not, Harris is actually done right now, and we're going to have to leave that to dry. So, Harris, I actually don't need you anymore.
Okay.
Do you want to say goodbye to everybody?
Bye.
Stick your head there so we can see you. No, stick your head, come right. Because this might be his last appearance. Not sure yet what's happening next week. Will he be here? Who knows? Will we all be here? Who knows? Right, I'm nearly finished. I'm going to cover the whole thing. One thing I wanted to show you is that his eyes in this picture are perfect circles. So to achieve that, what you might have to do, while the tissue paper is dry and you don't have wet hands, which get really messy, you might just want to tear yourself a little bit of red and stick it where those circles are. Or if you want to cut the tissue paper, you can always cut the tissue paper. Okay. Now I can't pick this up to show you because the colour's just going to start dripping down. Hopefully you can see it okay. If I turn on this side, you'll be able to see it a little bit better. Okay, right, I'm nearly finished. You don't need to go right to the edges with this. Don't go right to the edges. Leave a space. That's okay. He's used up all the good colours. Let me do that. Right, so as I say, this paper doesn't actually bleed. The colour doesn't come out of it, but it will mix with the colours around it to create new colours. So don't worry if your tissue paper isn't bleeding right now. And keep overlapping it, and if it starts to get too dry and you don't see it sticking to the paper, just give your paper another wee swoosh. Now ideally, I would have had lots of yellows and oranges because that's what Paul Klee uses. Unfortunately, we don't have any covered. That's okay. We're inspired by him. We're not completely copying him. We're inspired by him to create our own picture today. One more wee bit of white, so I may as well use it up, stick it down that bottom corner. I'm going to use a little bit of that blue there just to blend in with it nicely. Okay, so it looks a bit of a mess at the minute, I'm not going to lie. It does look a bit of a mess. I want to show you. It doesn't look great. Looks very great. Doesn't look great. What you do is you pop that to the side, leave it for about 15 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, so go away, wash your hands, tidy up all the mess you've got, maybe go get a wee snack, then come back, and then it'll look a little bit like this. Now mine's actually starting to fall off. Okay, so what you then start to do is you start to pick off all of your tissue paper, and you get this kind of effect. Okay, so the colours all come out. You've got some nice straight edges there as well from where the tissue's been. Okay, so that was the pink. That's the one that doesn't bleed, so it doesn't give you strong colours, but still looks really well. And now because that's dry, the tissue paper even looks quite nice. Now because it's dry, what you then can do, if you want to, is you can use oil pastels or pencils or chalks or anything you want to start adding in maybe a little bit of texture. So you can start to, or you can just start to add some colour onto it as well. Just to make it look even more interesting. So you can start to add some yellow on top of that. If you want to, if my eyes haven't worked very well, so I might just go and get a new red. And I might just put that on top. So it's just a really interesting way to get this blurry effect without having to use paints or anything else. And it's just really experimental. It's really good fun. Thank you, Annie. It's really good fun. really experimental, quite sciencey, you know, and you get different effects. I love when you get to do art and you actually don't have a lot of control over it and you just have to shrug your shoulders and say, I don't know what's going to happen here. That's my base type of art. Really experimental and really, really, really fun. Okay, and we've done faces today, but you don't have to do faces. You could do animals, you could do buildings, you could do landscapes, you could draw whatever you want, because Paul Klee didn't just do faces, he did a lot of building works as well. Okay, so our last art lesson was a little bit experimental, a little bit fun. Gonna look at the news later on today and see if we're going to be back next week or not, primary 1 to 3. And if we are, this will be it. This will be it, unless you want me to do anything on the holidays or do extra ones, but this will be our last session today. So I'll stick this on Facebook now, it'll be on YouTube, and I don't have anything to tell you about next week because I don't know if we are doing anything next week or not. However, actually, if you have got older brothers or sisters, or if you want a challenge, tomorrow, to tie in with what I'm doing at my school in Dunbarney, we are going to be looking at creating some landscapes, in particular vanishing point landscapes, or 1 point perspective. It's quite technical, and you'll need a ruler and a pencil and a piece of paper, and that's it. When it comes to adding colour and detail, I'm going to leave you to choose whatever you want to use. So if you've got big brothers or sisters, or if you want up for a challenge, join me tomorrow at 10:30 on here as well, and I'll be with Alex tomorrow. Okay, Harris's is looking very wet and splodgy, but once it's finished, I'll take off the tissue paper and we'll see if the canvas worked. I hope it did. I hope it did. Right, lots of love. Thank you again, and thank you for all of your support and all of the shares and all of the likes. It really, really means the world to me. So thank you.